Hello guys and welcome to CTV Africa. My name is Grace Williams and today I met someone that is very inspiring, a Liberian, or born Liberian, that have the passion for Liberia. His name is Mr. Lekpele Nyamalon. He's the author of the book Scary Dream.
I worship you, I worship you. You are here, working in this place. I worship you, I worship you. You are here, moving in our midst. I worship you, I worship you. You are here, working in this place. I worship you, I worship you. Hey, waymaker, miracle worker, promise keeper.
Lekpele, let me congratulate you again. Some time ago, there was a presentation, and yours was one of the poems that was presented. In fact, you and another young Liberian, and I incorporated the poems in one of my publications. So I want to commend you. But I want to commend all of you, and especially the young lady there, who spoke, who read the poem about the memories and what it did. What is interesting about what she said, and I want to put this out for all of you, the experience that she had. She said we must not let it continue to keep us backwards. We must move forward. Now, what I want to say to all of you young people is that I'd like you all to apply the poems, the poetry, to our existing reality, and what we must learn from it, and what it says to us as Liberians as we move forward. Amilcar Cabral, one of the leaders of the Cape Verdean revolution in history, he said, our history must guide us, but it must not define us or divide us. Do you understand the significance of that? I want you all, in reading these poems, to apply it to our reality today. What are the lessons? What does it say to us? We must not live in the past. We must not regurgitate the past, because in so doing, if we do that, it will define us and it will divide us. And as a people, we will not reach where we are supposed to reach, because we insist on living in the past and letting the past define us and guide us. I want you all, in looking at these various points, remember that. What are the lessons to help us build this nation and move forward? Not as a divided people, but as a united people. Please read the poems, and from those poems see what are the lessons, what does it say to us about moving this nation forward and about us attaining the heights that we can attain. So thank you, young man, and thank all of you, and all the best. But please apply this, okay? Thank you.
My name is Lekpele Nyamalon, Lekpele M. Nyamalon. I'm a Liberian. I'm a poet, a writer, and an inspirational speaker. Scary Dreams is a collection of poems that tell a story of the Liberian Civil War. And I use this book as a personal platform to tell my story as a child growing up in conflict and the stories of many of my age mates. I am a telecommunications professional. Wow. I've worked in the telecommunications industry for more than 10 years.
That's great.
And I'm also a writer, excuse me, and I'm an award-winning poet. In 2015, I won an award for World Poetry Day that was sponsored by a group of young people from Southern Africa called Young People Today. And it was their platform for promoting young writers at the time around a theme called Young People Deserve. And my poem, Forgotten Future, was selected as the winning poem for that year. They are sponsored by UNESCO and called Young People Today. I think a lot of Liberians have done very great things.
Yeah.
And most of their works have been well documented. And I consider myself one of those walking or treading a path that a lot of great people before me have long left a trail. When it comes to poetry, for example, there have been many great people whose footprints have given us a path to follow. Just to name a few of them, like the legendary poet Bai Timo, and one of my very own mentors, Dr. Patricia Jabel Wesley, a Liberian poet and professor, and a big brother, former Minister of Foreign Affairs, Augustine Kwehe Gafuan, who has been one of my inspirations as well. And I gave it out to all my teachers of literature and English from high school up to, yes. So I think it's been a very great journey. And without their efforts, we wouldn't have been able to cultivate the courage to do what we're doing now.
So I would like to take you back to your signing ceremony. I was there, but it was really great, to be frank. So I want you to just give a little take on it. How was it done? Who was behind the back? Where's your support coming from? You know, all those things. The public would really want to know.
I draw my strength from so many different places, and the signing ceremony was meant to be an informal program. The book was actually launched a year ago, and the ceremony was primarily meant to be a living room affair where people can sit and informally discuss about their experiences during the Civil War, because every Liberian can relate to every poem in this collection. And it was meant for them to tell their own stories. Not for me and the author to just go and read and talk. So that's why, if you observed, at the signing ceremony, I did very little talking. And the audience, those in the audience were made to recount their experiences, to talk about the Civil War, grab a book, open it, read any poem of your choice, and see how that piece connects with you, with your history, and with the Liberian Civil War. You know, I always say that an entire book can be packed in the line of a poem. And 1990 the war actually started in 1989. And like you see at the back here, I was 6 years old when the war started in 1989. But in 1990 was when the war had reached Monrovia, and everything broke loose in 1990.
Can we have 2 minutes of reflection on 1990? Just the year 1990, what comes to mind? Who wants to share first? How can you be shy about 1990? You know you were born 1990. Can somebody talk about 1990? That year rings a bell in our country history. Okay, 1990 was the first time I saw Dead Valley. The very first time in 1990. And I can close my eyes and say it, around the Pins, leaving from Pinsville to Fendel campus. It was just along the roadside, and the belly was puffed up. I mean, you could smell, the foul scent in the community. But then I saw this sewed on thing laying down or body. And then I asked my aunt, what's that there? She said, a dead body. I'm like, what? Dead body? And I turned my face. But that was just the start of the scene of many dead bodies along the road. So my year 1990, I know that that was the first time I saw a lifeless being, and not in any respectable way, I would say, because before then, when you were little, when someone passed, the older ones would not allow us, the children, to be around, not view bodies. So their body wasn't something that, my eyes, had rarely seen. Not even a movie, I guess.
1990. It was 1990. The year stings like a bee. Hunger struck Moruga like an assault lightning. Cholera and diarrhea stormed like a hurricane. 1990, I say it was 1990. The year smells like a decomposed carcass. Families lost loved ones, all in a senseless war. 1990, but why did you ever come? I hope your memories are buried in the sense of something.
If I went back to Tanzania today, would memories be all that I see? If I went back to La Mairie, would I see the beautiful choirs get up in their beautiful colors like the ladies of the valley? Or would I only hear echoes of the melodies ringing from afar, deeply lost in my memories? Would I ever see them there? If I went to the futu shops, I would only stand and weep, because I'll be thinking of the days when us boys would gang up and eat like hungry warriors just from a battle. If I went back to Yingle and stood at the side of the distribution center, I would get lost far in my thoughts. Would I feel the weight of the buckwheat on my head as I run like a speedboat to my house? If I went back to St. Jean's or PMRC and sat and stared, my oh my, would I cry or smile as I see images of boys and girls in white and green?
It was midnight, dark, cold, and quiet. Fear was alive, breathing through the pores of the skies. Bam, 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 went the marksmen with daggers, spilling blood like rainfall. Cries rang out from the depths of victims like a mournful chorus. Let me live, let me live, let me live. July 29, why did you ever come?
Or Liberian, not Ebola. I'm a Liberian, not some virus. Red blood flows through my veins. My heart beats like hydro, pumping through those arteries. I'm human, not a parasite. I live on rice, fish, and meat, not on blood and cancers. I have got brains. I'm not dumb. I'm alive as a bird, creeping on trees, enjoying nature. I'm not a night walking, friend vampire, draining people of the red light. Am I a leash sucking people's blood? Ebola does not live here. How then can I be a virus? Ebola. Check the St. John River, the Kavala River, or from St. Paul to the Lekpele Forest, up to the Wologizi Mountain. It's nowhere here, child. How do I own this load? My country is rich with rainforest, a wonderful climate, and beautiful history. Amazing culture, and Africa's first child. Do we have labs that make malaria? How can we be Ebola? I'm a Liberian from the land of the free. I am a Liberian, a warm-blooded Mammon, a human, a Homo sapien, an African, not a virus. So this poem, it just took me back to 2014 during the Ebola crisis. I happened to travel to the US. When we got to New York, JFK, they told us that all those from West Africa, one side. You had these people dressed in suits like they were in the ETU. And then we were put in one room, from one room to the other room, like 3 rooms. And just training and asking like questions. You say, the question was just so many, over 100 questions you have to fill out before you leave immigration. And people don't even want to come near you once you're from West Africa, like you're Guinea, Sierra Leone. And I was traveling to another state on the bus, on the Greyhound bus. When I got to Richmond, Virginia, and then it was the same day this Liberian guy died. So while in the bus station, they just show him in a green shirt, XYZ. And the American lady, she was right by me. She wanted to start a conversation, but I didn't want to talk because I didn't want her to hear my accent and ask where I'm from. So when she talked, I'm like, I'm just like this. That was so funny. About the girl on the bus, the bus conductor said that everybody should show their ID. I didn't have any ID, so passport. I said, Lord, have mercy.
Wow, we are back. Welcome to CTV Africa. I'm Grace Williams, and we were discussing the book Scary Dream. Mr. Lekpele, you are highly welcome to the platform once more.
Thank you very much.
So where were we? You were talking about...
I'm caught between pizza and this bitter lemon. Okay. But it's a great opportunity bumping into you. And you were asking about stolen innocence.
Yeah, stolen innocence.
Stolen innocence is actually, it's part 3 of this book. Okay. You can check page 96. Stolen innocence is a chapter that explains a period in our history as a country when young boys were drugged and became child soldiers, and young girls were recruited, some as sex slaves and cooks for the rebel commanders, and villages and towns that were considered sacred were desecrated. So stolen innocence takes us on a journey of that. And like you saw the play the children performed,
it was so wonderful.
The school children did. I wrote that play that summarizes a period in our history that speaks of all these things. Villages torn apart, brothers and sisters almost got married, like you saw in the play. And they were on drugs, and they were out of child soldiers, or they were just wayward children. So I'm going to read very briefly a piece that says, "They took my daughter."
Okay.
On page 98.
Okay.
Men came to our house. "Where is she?" they roared. My heart leapt from my chest. My soul wept for her. My pearl of only 11 years. Oh God, blind the eyes of these killers. I can't lose her. Spare me Lapu. Spare me Seba, Miriam, Kou, Koto, Jua. Leave my daughter in broken tears, filled with despair. My hands frail angrily. Why now? Oh Helen, Ninja, Ade, Fatumata, please bring her back. I waited. I'm still waiting. So this piece, it says they took my daughter. There was a time when I remember during the war, soldiers came overnight for young girls to take them and carry them. Very vividly, one night, a soldier came to the house we were seeking refuge at, and he demanded to take my sister. My mother and everyone in the house had to beg him from in the morning to in the night that, please, this girl cannot go. Some families were not so fortunate. They took their children away, and the rest is history. So these are experiences that I gathered under the portion of that book that speaks of stolen innocence. Children who were meant to be innocent lost their innocence because of rape, because of being drugged as child soldiers, and they became men and women overnight.
So true, because even I myself lost my brother, my older brother during the crossing. So it's one way or the other, all Liberians were highly affected. So I really want to know, like I said from the beginning, I want to know where you get your inspiration for the title or Scary Dream. Because
I just wish I could just wake up. You know, when you go to bed and you are having a series of bad dreams, and then you got up and realized that you were dreaming, you feel happy that I'm out of this. Thank God I'm out of this. So in this case, I call it scary dreams. These are all things that happened during the war that we wish did not happen. So each of them is a component of a very scary dream. And that's why, as a people, as Liberians, we hope that we will get out of the abyss of violence, of diabolism, of nepotism, and corruption, and greed, and civil strife, so that as a country, we can rise up and not go back to those vices that took us to scary dreams. For a long time, after 1990, I was haunted by the memories of things I saw: dead bodies, malnourished children. As a 7-year-old child, I walked from Matadi. At the time it was, Matadi, all the way to Tupuru Road. And the journey that made me to shed tears was from Tupuru Road to Fendel. If you read the poem 1919,
yeah, I read 1919.
You asked about, it says, 1990, it was 1990. The year still rings a bell. Kids were crying. I mentioned I was crying.
Yeah,
All Liberia was plunged in turmoil.
yeah.
Folks were walking line by line,
So that was referring
from Monrovia to Fender,
yeah.
Kakata to Banga. And I was one of those walking.
Guess what?
For 7 years.
Will you believe that I was not alive in 1990, but 2003, World War I, World War II, World War III.
Yeah.
You know what happened to me? I walked by land from Jacobstown to Habel.
To Habel.
I was only 11, I think 11 or
time.
12 years. I was 11, I think.
Yes.
So do you see the pain that we all have? This 1990 chapter, I really love it.
I mean, I'll tell you what, Grace. To overcome the trauma of the war, I had to read this book. These are stories that I took with me for over 3 decades. And the only way, like I mentioned at the signing ceremony, at the book chart, was to let them out through the pages so that generations after us, like those who were not born, those who were very young to even remember, can read these lines and recount the experiences that we went through. Because these are stories told by a child.
Yeah, that child is you.
And it's also meant, yes, to send a message that even children growing up in conflict can tell their own story.
Yeah.
And that those who are the perpetrators of the violence that this country went through should never walk free.
Of course. They should be haunted for whatever they did.
Even if they physically did, let them be imprisoned by something we call conscience.
Yeah.
Because of my experiences as a child, growing up in conflict, I wrote Scary Dreams. Scary Dreams, like I mentioned, is a collection of personal experiences of the author and experiences of all those who lived through the conflict. So I founded a non-for-profit called Africa's Life. Africa's Life.
Okay.
Why Africa? Africa is a continent that has been plagued by civil war, corruption, failed states, etc. But Africa is also a land of hope and many dreams. So Africa's Life Foundation is meant to inspire young people through sharing inspirational speaking and arts and culture. So every young person, by extension, is a member of Africa's Life.
Okay.
All you do is join us and we will help to inspire you, and together we'll lift Africa.
Okay, I'm Mercy and Flomo. I would like to know the mood of the author while writing this book, because for me, the previous performance for now had me feeling emotional. I don't know about you, but I would like to know his mood, because I can just imagine at some point in time wishing to put this pen down, because you feel like you are imagining a nightmare dream, a very, very scary dream, that you don't really want to go back to bed, but you have to go back to bed to wake up in the morning. So I would like him to explain to us, to share his experience while writing this book.
Thank you very much. Like I said, this was a difficult journey. Most times it's hard to tell a scary story. You appear like a bearer of bad news. So I've written a whole lot, and I haven't even released half of what I've written. But for some reason I felt that this has to go out. Not because of me per se, right? But of the experiences we had during the war. Specifically for this book, too many things happened. Like Pasia said in the introduction, sometimes we see them, we all recount stories of the Civil War. And over time, if we don't document, we forget. There's a huge tendency to forget completely what happened. And then one day a foreigner will show up in our country and will ask us a few questions and write a big book about us. Some of them might be far from the truth, heavily discarded or distorted, but as a people, we have to be our own storytellers. And that's why I encourage everyone, because we're all storytellers. As an artist, as a painter, as a poet, a musician, we all tell stories differently. So whatever experiences we've had, like in this piece, there are a few pieces here that speak of the Ebola epidemic. It's not about the war, but in a way it's about what we went through as a country. So, like she read one of the pieces about the time Liberians were stigmatized. Ebola did not start here, but because for some reason, when there was one of the epicenters of the epidemic, Ebola was all over the place. So I wrote that at the time. That piece was inspired by the movement to end stigmatization against Liberians for being carriers of the virus. So too many stories inspired me, and thank you for all for supporting. Thank you. I saw a hand back there. Yes.
Just somewhat similar to the question she asked, so just mostly some of the struggles you face while writing your book. So that was the question I was going to ask, but she kind of asked the same question.
Okay.
Yeah.
You know, okay, I'll just give a small background to that. The book is divided into 4 parts. The first part is called Haunted Years. It's like a collection of about 60 poems or thereabout that speaks of the time, the dark years in our country when we were in the shadows. Liberia was a failed state, so to speak, at the time. And there's a piece here that speaks about I'm not a politician. It's about, there was a time in our country when teachers were haunted, students were haunted. If you were a publisher of a newspaper, you were a target. So everyone became a politician once you said something against the government. So the next portion is what I call exile screams, like Justina read. I went to exile in Delane. So most of what I wrote in that portion speak of my years as a refugee in the Ivory Coast. So some people were beginning, some people traveled to the US, wherever. But because we left our country during the war, those stories remain with us. And then part 3 is called Stolen Innocence. Like you saw the play the children performed, the young people performed. Young women were raped. Young boys became child soldiers. And as children, their innocence got stolen forever. So the poems in that part of the book speak of, even for example, my mother comes from a town called Massaquoi Town. I remember before the war, went there for vacation, you could not stay in that town and abuse. It could not just happen. But when the soldiers came, they went in there, they whipped everybody. They used to stay in the center of the time and just abuse even the town chief. So even the town lost its innocence. If you read, you see I have there, I'll pronounce it in Pele, it's called Massaquoi, which means Massaquoi Town. And this town lost its innocence as well. And then so that we don't end on a sour note, there's a piece called Hope for the Future. That Liberia, as a country, there is hope. Despite all the things we went through. So there are about 15 pieces in this chapter that speaks of the future as a country. And we are hopeful. One of them is called On the Back of History. On the Back of History is a poem that gives a chronology of our existence as a country. How the slaves arrived and how that was born and everything leading up to where we are now. So I encourage you to just read the entire piece. You'll see that it's a history of the carnage and the future we have prospects as a country.
Fellow Liberians, Scary Dreams is a collection of our story, man's story, and a story that our children will come and read. Every poem in this collection speaks to a particular experience. It is my fervent hope that as a people, we will never return our country to years of carnage. May we unite and leave behind those vices that took us to conflict. Tribalism, nepotism, and corruption. May God bless our country, and may this glorious land of liberty long remain ours.